When and where were you born, Grandma?
I was born in Provo, Utah, on 3rd South, almost to 6th East, in a basement apartment that my parents had.
And do you recall any interesting stories regarding your birth?
Yes, my little Auntie Vera from Denver came to see me, one of the first ones, and said I was a pretty baby.
Very nice. What is your earliest memory?
My earliest memory of being a little child is my tricycle, probably. I was so happy to have a tricycle. And I was quite young because my father put blocks on it, quite big, on each side so that I could ride it. And then I can remember when I was big enough and he took the blocks off.
Very good. Who was the most influential person to you as a child?
One of the people that was influential to me were my grandparents. We lived in the side of the house. They lived in the side of their house, and we lived in a little apartment on the other side. There was it was in a separate unit. But anyway, he was blind, but we used to take him for walks, and I learned a lot of things from my grandpa.
Does anything stand out?
Yes, he used to. All the cousins loved to come and see Grandpa Barrett. He used to sing a little song about him and play a little, like you'd lay over his lap. He would tickle you on your back, kind of like rub it and stuff, and sing about how many hands stand up. He'd say, can't quite remember.
Hurly burly, trumpet
yes,
turly.
He would say, hurly burly, trumpet turly, how many hands stand up? And those would be his fingers, and we'd all guess, and he'd say 3 you said, and 2 it was. And then he'd start over again. And we could stay there as long as we didn't guess the right one, but when you guessed, your turn was over, and the next one would come.
Very good. I remember playing that game. It's nice to know where it came from. Did you have any pets as a child?
I didn't myself, but my brother always had a dog. And Boots was our dog. He was black but had white feet. And my mother was very attentive to the dog. She would make sure he was fed, and if something needed to be boiled so that he could eat it better, she boiled it. He was a good dog.
What did you do during the summertime as a child?
We didn't travel a lot, but we always went to visit family. My mother's oldest sister, Aunt Darlene, was like a second mother to us. We always had Thanksgiving at their house, and I thought she lived in a big house. She lived at 444 North, 4th West in Provo, and she had 8 children, and we always had Thanksgiving with her. We always brought pie or something as our part, but she was a wonderful lady. I spoke at her funeral when she passed away.
What was your favorite game growing up?
We played like outside games, always played marbles and jacks. They don't play jacks anymore, but you had a little ball, and then you could see how many jacks you could hold. Everybody played jacks.
I played jacks a little bit, probably with you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any nicknames growing up?
No, only Coco from Peter, just from my name. My cousin always called me Connie, even though he knew my name was Colleen. But he liked Connie better.
When did Grandpa start calling you Coco? Or was that Grandpa who coined that?
Mm-hmm.
When was that?
After we were married. was just shorter to say Coco than Colleen.
Mm-hmm.
Over the years, however, it's become more endearing than it was at first. It's quite endearing now.
That's wonderful. All right, moving on to kind of grade school, high school, those at that time. What was your favorite subject to study?
English. My favorite subjects were English and geography. I loved to do the maps in geography with all the colored pencils in grade school and in junior high when I loved to do projects associated.
What did you like most about school?
Um, I liked everything about school. I never wanted to be late, and I never wanted to be absent. And I was blessed to have pretty good health with that. But I liked the teachers, and there were some fun things. The maypole, I don't think they do the maypole dance anymore. I still know the names of all of my teachers, and some of them, one of our teachers in the 3rd grade had us march around and sing a song before we sat down at our desks.
Do you remember the song?
Onward, Christian soldiers.
Oh, very good.
Then when we got to our desks, sat down.
Who was your best friend in your school days?
My best friend in school days was Doris Bullock, and it happened that my best friend later in my life was a Doris. She's passed away now.
A different Doris.
A different Doris.
How long did you stay in touch with Doris Bullock?
Oh,
how long did your friendship
clear till we were married, had families. We saw each other quite often. She passed away when she was about 40 or so.
You said you just loved school, but was there anything you didn't like about school? Something you liked least? And there's no problem if it's not. If you liked it, that's good. Was it more learning? Was it the curiosity?
I think I liked the friends at school. I looked forward to picking up the friends along the way. We would gather together because I lived about 6 blocks from my Mazer school, from the elementary school. And by the time we got there were about 6 of us.
Very good.
And we were good friends.
What sort of extracurricular activities did you participate in as a teen?
Probably the extra things in school where you could belong to the marching club or something like that. Or
did you do anything outside of school?
I did in junior high school. Some of us who had taken tap dancing made some, let's see, red, white, and blue, which would be color, what would they be?
The national colors?
National colors, I guess. And we did a dance on the showboat out to Utah Lake, and we did it in an assembly. And
what was the showboat on Utah Lake?
There used to be a showboat out there, and it would take you to Bird Island, and that was one of the things you got to do when you were in the 9th grade, was to take the showboat in your lunch, and they would take you out the far. You didn't get off of it, you just went out there. I don't know that they do that anymore, and there's not even a boat there. So.
Did you have a teen idol? And if so, who was it, and how did it kind of spark your interest?
I didn't have any idol particularly, but Shirley Temple was probably quite influential. She was born the same time I was, so. But everybody loved to go to her her movies. Everybody wanted ringlets like her. My mother used to put ringlets in my hair. And I used to, everybody, but she was quite a remarkable person as you follow her life. And she did a lot of good. She even said to herself, like Shirley was another person, she said, Shirley was awfully good to me. And she was honored at that honor thing they had for people who have accomplished things. And she did a lot of things in the government also. She was a representative in different countries. And so she did a lot of good things.
That's great.
But I didn't have any singers or anything that I usually...
What would there be anything that people would be surprised to know about you as a teenager?
I don't think so. I don't think I'd do anything surprising.
So what was your first job?
At Christmas time, some of my first jobs were at Christmas time. That was the earning, to earn some money for Christmas. All the stores hired extra people during Christmas time, and I always had a job there. Before that, I used to babysit a lot. In those days, babysitting was okay and wonderful to do for your neighborhood. Usually relatives or people in your neighborhood would have you come and stay with their children.
Do you remember how much you'd get paid for
Yes,
babysitting?
it was like 10 cents an hour. Very, was not money that
But
you...
what did 10 cents get you back then? I mean,
A quart of milk, loaf of bread.
So maybe it's equivalent of like a couple bucks an hour.
Uh-huh.
What was now this can be any time in your life. What was the best job you've ever had?
Well, when I went to my preparation in high school was what got me my best job when I left high school. I took classes always wanting to be a secretary. And so the girls in high school would go and we'd apply for jobs. I went with some of the girls who applied for a job at the telephone company, but at that time the boards were way tall, and you sat on a stool, and then you had to reach to plug in the calls. So I couldn't do that because I was too short. But my schooling, I took shorthand and type and bookkeeping, and I got several jobs. I had several jobs that I liked as a secretary. I was doing that at the time I got married.
That's what Grandpa said. Yeah, you were supporting your guys'
yes.
newly established marriage.
Yes. So
that's wonderful. Did you have any job that was the worst job, one in your life that you just did not like?
No, there were. I was an usher at the Paramount Theater. I didn't really like that job as well. It just seemed like more a waste of my time. Mm-hmm. But it was fun to do for a while. But I wouldn't have stayed with that.
Got it. In addition to being paid money, how has these different jobs that you had create value in your life?
Well, I think the value in my life came with my children and what they were doing, and I had so many interests. If I was interested in something, I either bought a book about it, and then I was interested in what the children were doing when they went to school. So the value of my life has been just learning through my children or just things that I've been interested in.
Pursuing your curiosity.
Yes.
And is that something you still do? What are you
I
doing now?
Still do.
What are you what's piquing your interest at the moment?
There's a lot of so many wonderful books. You can go anywhere you want in a book. So the things that I'm interested in are travel, different countries, and you can learn a lot. Just
Are you reading about anything particularly right now that's pretty fascinating?
Well, um, actually, right now I'm doing the early part of the Bible.
What book are you in? Genesis? Are you
In the Old
in the Old Testament?
Testament.
Exodus? Where are you at right now?
Well, I'm more with the people. If I get interested in somebody, I
Okay.
try to go further than what the written word says. You have to go somewhere else
Yes.
to find it.
Mm-hmm. And who are you? Okay, what person?
Well,
Are you
I was
studying?
very interested in Moses,
Mm-hmm.
and then others. My other from the New Testament is Paul. He's an amazing, amazing man, and I'm not quite sure why they don't study Paul
I love that.
as a person.
Mm-hmm.
These are all as people,
Yeah.
and kind of every book you read is like a new friend. So that's the reason my bookcase is still full of the books I read, because you don't give away your friends.
I love that.
Biographies are my favorite.
Okay. Is there any? Do you have a favorite biography?
Probably Abraham Lincoln. I have many books about Abraham Lincoln.
Very good.
Everybody, every nation needs an Abraham Lincoln.
And why is that? Is it what about him makes? Why does every nation?
He just cared and had a way of finding a way to bring about what he thought would be desirable. He worked hard at that, lost his life trying to do it.
That's admirable. Okay. Going to kind of move on to your love life with Grandpa and meeting how that all began, and maybe even a little bit prior to that. Who was your first love in your life going back?
Oh, I had a lot of friends that were boys that were not considered like love of your life, but very good friends that were boys. And I dated in high school. I was active in things and participated in most everything there was.
How did you and Grandpa first meet?
We met at a dance that a girl that I was my friend. Her name was Joanne Boardman, but they called her Tootie. And she met him at the ice cream shop, and she invited him to our girls' dance, and that we traded a dance, and there he was.
You know, and he kind of told the prelude, because he was on your radar. You were on his radar before he was on yours.
Yes,
for many years.
A long time.
And it's pretty interesting how, it's pretty fantastic, really, that it all came together
Yes.
at that dance. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, what is the most special way you've shown someone that you love them?
I think we show special love to people when we're concerned about them, care about them, want to be kind, and
Is there anything that stands out that you've ever done that feels like, like where you're able to really show someone how much they mean to you? Any moment? And I know you're a great example of just constant love, and maybe that's the secret.
There's specific, my little Auntie Vera, I ended up being her. She had no children. I ended up kind of being her daughter, I guess, what you'd say. And I did kind of look after her and her affairs even after she passed away. She made me her executor or whatever you call it. And so I handled all of her affairs afterwards and loved doing it.
Very good. Is there what's the most special way you've ever been shown love?
Oh, I think that would have to be Jim. My husband shows special love every day, numerous times a day.
And how does he do it?
Verbally, and with hugs, and always acknowledging me as a special part of his life. This is daily, numerous times in the day.
What was your courtship like, and kind of leading up from that first dance where you met to getting married?
Okay, our first date was a bicycle ride. I don't know if he mentioned that to you, but I borrowed the neighbor's bike because I didn't want to ride a boy's bike. And so she was happy for her bike to go on a date because she was the little lady. And we pedaled up to the BYU and came down the hill. Nobody knows there's a hill there.
Did you eat anywhere?
I don't think that day that we did,
right.
but we had lots of picnics though.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of ways to have a visit without spending any money.
Yes, absolutely. Well, what is and was your goal as a parent? You know, raising young children, and maybe even being a parent as your children grow older, becoming a grandparent.
Well, I don't know that you plan everything. You just adjust to what takes place in your life. And we knew we wanted to have a family. And we just have some wonderful children. I loved being part of the children's school life. And so that was a great joy to me, to help them think of different things they could do for different projects and make sure everybody was happy. Not in the stressful part of life, knowing it would come.
The stress would come.
The stress would come. I think I maybe overdid. Maybe what they call the helicopter mother now. I probably was a little bit like that, not intending to invade their
No, all done with
world,
love.
but I enjoyed all their school, and especially in college when we were trying to deal with, after James came home from his service in the military, and then everybody was in college together because he'd been on a mission. And so we had 5 kids in college and 3 cars. So we were having meetings to find out how to accomplish that every day. And so everybody was helpful to everybody else.
Very good. What does the word family mean to you?
Well, right now it's like over 100 people, so that's a lot. But it just means what you've accomplished. You have your family. That's the best thing that can happen to you. Even with all the little things that happen here and there along life's journey, if you just have compassion one to another, keep everybody together, they actually can help each other more than they know.
And how how can they figure that out, or what leads, maybe what precedes that or helps that?
I think it starts, that particular feeling has to start when they're little. Being kind to family first. Your family comes first for what you can do for each other, and it just is a it is a good habit and not a bad habit.
In what ways did your parents, and have they influenced you the most? Where did they influence you the most?
Well, my parents influenced me by a good example, quite strict rules, never wanting to displease them made me happy, and I didn't see any reason to not just follow the rules. That was it.
I know you, Grandma, as a great, I think, most the way you are such a shining example to me is through the service that you provide your family. You are never one to shy away from offering help wherever you can, whether it be mending something or making bread, making one of those meaningful things you can do is feed somebody. Is put your love is to take good ingredients and put your love with it and then to share it. And you're such an example of that. And where did you learn that? And what does that mean to you? And
Well, it's a good thing I love to cook. I enjoy cooking and I enjoy having people come, especially the children, the grandchildren. That's been such a joy. I don't think anyone knows how special your grandchildren are until you get to know them really well. So I feel a little displaced from those who live way away, far away, that I don't get to kind of do that service for, that I enjoy doing. And my mother taught me to sew very early in my life. I was sewing, she used to get flour and sugar used to come in sacks, cloth sacks. And then you bleached them and cut them in a square. And I used to hem those for dish towels. And my mother taught me to sew quite early in my life.
Does it nourish you to be of service to people? And has that always been your nature, or is it something you've developed over the years?
Well, I think I grew up thinking I was responsible for my little brother. So maybe it came from there. And we're always the best of friends. I don't think we ever had a harsh word ever. We just enjoyed each other till he was gone. And I always, had care and worry and concern for him as a little boy. Even I think I gave him my trike. I finally realized it wasn't my trike anymore, that it was his trike. I think you enjoy doing what you know how to do, and there's joy in that. I know some people who don't like to sew because it makes them nervous. Sewing relaxes me, and like quilting relaxes me, like things I know how to do. Cooking relaxes me. I'm not in a fuss about doing it. Maybe something I didn't know how to do might bother me, but I enjoy doing what I know how to do.
And on top of that, those are a lot of those activities are things that you share.
Yes.
You usually give away a quilt and
Yep.
or mend something for somebody, or make food.
Yep.
So a lot of things you know how to do and get joy from are, honestly, they're kind of rooted in sharing and service. Mm-hmm. That's wonderful.
And that example also comes from, like, my sweet mother-in-law. I learned a lot of things from her, just about life and living, because she was so like that.
What do you consider to be the most significant political event that has occurred during your life?
Oh, Political event.
Historical, political, anything. That just kind of that happen in the world, outside of your home. What is like the most interesting, significant thing you think happened while you've been alive?
I don't know that. Well, all the things that have happened since I was born. I remember Jim's mother used to say she remembered the first automobile and the airplane. I don't remember those things, but there have been so many significant technological things happening now. I think that would have to be something that was not in my past, but is in the future for sure. Things that people never would have thought about have been invented, and even more than we even know.
I think that's very astute, Grandma.
Oh.
So other than the present historical era, other than the present right now, what historical era would you have maybe liked to live in?
Oh my word, I don't know. Probably the, I don't know. I love history, so I would jump into some historical events, like maybe during the writers, like Mark Twain and some of the writers that and the poets. I would like to be in there.
Who's your favorite
live.
poet?
Well, probably there's a lot of them, but I like Emerson's essays. I like all the.
Very good. If you could meet any historical figure, past or present, who would it be?
Who would it be? It would be Abraham Lincoln.
And we kind of already talked about that, but maybe just a little more on the why.
On why? Oh, he was just such a wonderful person. You'd have to kind of get into his life wasn't easy. It wasn't because it was easy. He had decisions all the time. But he was able to make decisions that were good. That's even why we're here. This country wouldn't even be here.
Very good.
It's here because he cared.
Okay. These are kind of some more general questions. Okay. You've been doing great. What is your definition of happiness?
I think my definition of happiness would be peace of mind. Yeah, I think when you wouldn't have happiness if your mind's in a turmoil about things past, present, or future. If you can just find your happiness for the moment with what you're capable of doing.
That's profound. Very Eastern in thought, being mindful. It's called mindfulness, yeah. Buddha said a lot of things like that.
Yes.
What is your most memorable travel experience?
My memorable travel experience. Probably when I was able to travel with my husband to some of the areas that he was called to go when he was the director for temporal affairs in the South Pacific. There's all those islands, Guam and Tonga and Samoa and Tahiti and Fiji and a lot of other little islands. And while he was traveling there, it was nice for me to go at least once and see kind of where he was, what he was eating, and what he did. So it was interesting to see so many different cultures, and they do the same thing that we do in what you call more civilized situation. Maybe Yap was the least what you'd call um, like we live every day. Their pattern of living every day is nowhere near like ours.
Who is that?
Yap.
What
the
is
people
Yap?
of Yap.
Where is Yap?
It's an island in the South Pacific.
And what did they do?
Ponape. Some of them still are in the grass skirt era, and they have this one little tarmac where the plane lands, and then you go out and meet the people in the bush, in the rough, and see that they're wonderful people. They just do have no idea what is in the world. So I enjoyed that, and the different way they fix their food and the different foods I'd never heard about. And the things that they do, like for their country, like their whole economy is coconuts that they're going to sell.
How long did you stay with the people of Yap?
Just for like a day, maybe, or 2 days. And then they would be off to another place, to Ponape. They were, every culture is different, but they're all called together Polynesian.
What? That's fascinating. Can you think of anything in your life? Is there any moment that would maybe be deemed the funniest moment that's kind of happened in your years?
Well, I don't know what's the funniest or humorous. We've had a lot of humorous things. We do have a sense of humor in the family, which you have to have in order to see life. If it's not good, you can at least get through it with a little humor.
What is your happiest memory?
I don't know. I just have to be with the family. We're grateful for all of our children and grandchildren, and feel so blessed to have so many wonderful children from this marriage. When we think the generations of children now, we're going to 5 generations now that our great-granddaughter has had a baby. That's 5 generations of people that you feel kind of responsible for. So,
yeah.
Anyway, that's a happy thought.
And that might blend into this next one. What accomplishment are you most proud of?
I think our children I feel like I've tried to make a contribution to their lives.
And I think you've succeeded.
So that's what would make me happy.
I know you've contributed a lot to my life, Grandma, so thank you. How do you think people will remember you?
Well, I hope they remember me. I hope people remember me as a friend. I still have high school friends that I see after 90 years. So I know I have friends, and I hope those that I have taught in different situations will remember me as a teacher. And I hope that those that I've done things for, if it's been mending or cooking or tending their children or anything I've done, I hope they know that I enjoy doing it.
I think you are a strong example of service. What do you like to do in your spare time?
I like to read, and I like to sew, and I like to visit people that I think need to be visited. And probably I like to do different things. I'm very much interested in sports, so I follow a lot of sports.
What sports do you follow?
basketball and football when it's on, and golf, and
Were you happy to see Tiger get a win?
he's struggled for it.
Yeah, he did. If you had to pick one sports team, you can only choose one. Who's your favorite?
Doing whatever.
Any sport, just one that's at the top of the list. If you could only watch one for the rest of your life,
Oh,
you could only follow one, who would you have
well,
to choose?
well, I don't know. I guess the Olympics.
That's a good choice. I love the Olympics. I'm getting a little interference with your mic, and then we just have about 5 more questions. Let me just make sure everything's good. Okay. And then, so, what is your greatest fear?
I'm really not afraid of. I don't put myself in an afraid place. I guess I'd be more concerned than afraid of things related to my children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. But I'm not afraid of something. I'm more concerned.
Okay, very good. What is your greatest hope?
For my greatest hope is that my family would do their best and remember me as a support to whatever they wanted to do. There's so many individuals, and each one deserved to be what they want to be, and I just hope that they'll be happy and follow their dream.
Very good. What place does religion have in your life?
It's kind of where our religion is, kind of where we are. We go to church and believe that in Heavenly Father. I believe in a Heavenly Father. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe that He cares about us and listens to our concerns and prayers. And I feel attached that way to Him. I think sometimes we don't study His life in our lives as much as we study other things. And I think, I know that He's part of my life.
Very good. On that same note, what do you think happens after we die?
I do think there's a life after death. I do think that. I had an experience of that with my mother, who I cared for the 2 years that she had cancer. And we often talked about that. She wondered where she would be. She had blessings that said she would be happy there. Toward the end of her life, I had told her that I wouldn't take her to the hospital again. We would just stay home and be peaceable about it. And then the doctor had me bring her there, and I apologized to her that day and said, "I'm sorry, Mama, to bring you back, but the doctor felt like maybe we should do some tests." And she said, don't worry. She says, "Daddy can't come for 5 days." And she died 5 days later. So I'm positive that he did come and get her. And knowing him, I'm sure he did.
Very, very cool. That's a neat story.
I've not had any other story as significant as that.
What are some of the main lessons that you've learned in your life?
Okay. Some of the lessons I've learned is patience is a virtue, that sometimes we push too quickly, too hard, and being patient allows things to happen maybe in a more peaceful manner and more hopeful manner. And so I think I've learned more patience.
I think it's a good lesson. What do you wish, on that same note, what do you wish you would have learned earlier in your life?
I don't know what I wish I had have learned. I've just learned so many things by living it. I don't know that I think of any particular thing that I wish I had known. Maybe to make better choices of some things. I'm sure I've made some choices that,
But that's how you learned, though, huh?
yeah,
Those choices
that weren't as good as others.
Okay. This is the last question. What would be your personal motto?
Oh, my personal motto would be to try and instill in everybody, I guess, more kindness, more courage, more hope, more love.
I think that's great. Is there anything else, Grandma, you want to kind of talk about
No,
or mention?
I think that I've appreciated my parents, I think, more since they've been gone than I did while they were here. And I wish that, although I always expressed to my mom how much I loved her, but maybe I didn't do it as much as I hope they know. I've often thought of my mother after she passed away. I hope she knows how much I loved her.
I think she does. I think from what I know of you, you're just such a wonderful example of service, Grandma. And I'm sure you took care of your mother.
And Effie, everybody knows Effie. Jim's mother, Effie, was. I just know that her influence is still here, and she's not. So I hope that for me, that my influence will stay here, even though I'm not.
I think anytime one of your kids or your grandkids do something for somebody else, maybe make them food.
My mother used to do that.
You know,
Grandma used to do that.
I definitely think of you when I think of service.
Anyway.
When I think of Grandpa, I think of maybe a more verbal expression of love.
Yeah.
And when I think of you, I think of a service-oriented expression of love. And I think together that's why you guys are so special, and you kind of complete that for each other.
Actually, thinking about life after death, I think that we were meant to come and be here together. I truly think that we were, and that is the reason we're still here. This is very unusual for us to be here this long, and to be together this long. And I think that it's a gift to us, and that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
A special gift.
I agree.
Because I know a lot of people who would have liked to have been together this long.